Over time, every pond builds up waste. Fish poo, dead plant material, leaves, dust, pollen, it all ends up somewhere. And if you're building the kind of ecosystem pond I talk about on this channel, that waste doesn't just disappear, it becomes part of the system. So today I want to talk about sludge, mulm and sediment, what it actually is, why it's not automatically a bad thing, and how I manage it without turning my pond into a high maintenance science experiment. But if you're new here, my name is Kev, and my aim is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and visit my website ozponds.com. So there's lots of ways to build a pond. Some systems are designed to export almost all waste immediately and trap it in a filter. They can work really well, but for me they require more frequent maintenance. The ponds I prefer are called ecosystem ponds, and they're built around natural processes. Bacteria breaking down waste, plants absorbing nutrients, small organisms grazing on algae, fish feeding from the system itself. I find that creates balance and resilience, but it also means, yes, some waste stays in the pond and it's going to build up over time. Mulm is basically broken down organic material. It looks dusty on the bottom of your pond, and it's made up of fine sediments, decomposed plant matter, biofilms, microorganisms doing their thing. And mulm isn't really a problem. In moderation, it feeds bacteria and microorganisms, stores nutrients plants can access, supports the food chain, and stabilises the whole system. I used to obsess about keeping my pond spotless. Now I actually see the benefits from leaving some of that material in place. That said, too much organic buildup can overwhelm your pond. If your pond smells rotten, has thick black sludge everywhere, or you see fish hanging out at the surface, that's usually a sign of low oxygen and anaerobic breakdown. That's when intervention helps, more aeration, removing some material, and getting things moving again. Good sludge management starts with design, but that doesn't mean you need to rebuild your pond. A lot of people have inherited a pond, built one years ago before knowing any better, or they're dealing with very large ponds where redesign isn't really realistic. And that's okay. One of the most overlooked issues I see is how waste actually gets moved. Too many ponds have the pump sitting directly on the pond floor, or dropped into the water with no structure around it, or maybe it's the wrong type of pump or it has the wrong flow. What happens then is pretty predictable. The pump clogs, the flow rates drop, waste stays inside the pond, and it never has a chance to make it to your filters. The good news is you can almost always retrofit a better system. That might mean creating a small cove or chamber where the pump sits, designing a narrow or shallow opening that gently pulls water and debris towards it, using grates, baskets, or coarse screening to stop large debris reaching the pump. The idea isn't to block everything, it's to catch the big stuff early, keep the pump flowing freely, and allow finer particles through so they can be dealt with inside the filters. Once most of the waste is moving to the filters instead of settling in the pond, sludge management becomes much easier. Good flow and good intake design let the ecosystem do the majority of the work. I have a system that I like to use, and it's also been used by countless people all over the world, and you can find my step-by-step guide at ozponds.com if you're interested. One of the simplest tools I use is disturbance. Every now and then I'll gently stir the pond floor or agitate areas where mulm is settled. That lifts the debris into the water column, sends it towards skimmers and filters, and gives bacteria and organisms access to fresh material. I'm not trying to get the pond spotless, just stopping waste from compacting and going anaerobic. I liken this to when a river system is flushed out during a rain event. During normal flow, sediments and debris build up inside the river. But rain events periodically flush some of that build-up out. It gets deposited into floodplains, wetlands, or exported out to the ocean. We can treat our ponds like that on a smaller scale. I find my best tool is still a net. If there's excess leaf material, thick sludge build-up, old plant material breaking down, I'll remove most of it manually, but not all of it. The goal is to reduce the organic load, give bacteria a breather, and keep oxygen levels healthy. I'm not trying to reset the ecosystem, just lighten the load. I do also have a pond vacuum that I sometimes use. One thing I don't like about it is how much water I lose. The water in the system's alive with all kinds of beneficial stuff, and it's staged and adapted to the ecosystem that is the pond. Also, all the organisms living inside the pond are adapted to that water. Plus the vacuum will indiscriminately suck up tadpoles, dragonfly nymphs, snails, shrimp, and a host of other beneficial animals. At least with the net, I can do some rescuing. Another mindset shift that some people might find crazy, I sometimes let algae grow. Algae acts like a filter mat. It traps fine particles and it absorbs nutrients. When it gets excessive, I remove it in one hit, exporting everything it's collected along the way. Used properly, algae can actually work for you. Having some grow in an area where there is flow, it can trap debris better than needing to replace or rinse off filter sponges all the time. Allowing nature to provide means I can neglect the pond for extended periods of time. Especially throughout the winter, I do absolutely nothing to the ponds. They accumulate waste, algae grows, and in spring I can come along and remove the algae along with all the materials that are stuck in it. I don't need to do a full drain and clean, removing the excess and then allowing the natural processes that break down organics to work their magic. That's because bacteria and microorganisms don't work at the same speed all year round. Warm water equals faster processing, cold water equals slower breakdown, and oxygen increases efficiency. So this is why aeration helps, circulation matters, and in summer you'll notice that your pond can be cleaner than in winter. In warmer months bacteria are active and plants are growing. In cooler months everything slows down, and that's not the time to overload the pond or aggressively stir things up. Let the pond rest when it wants to rest. I don't aim for sterile water, zero sediment and constant cleaning. I aim for balance and a system that forgives neglect. If this way of thinking about ponds makes sense to you, I've got more resources over at Ozponds.com, including guides, calculators, and deeper breakdowns of how ecosystem-style ponds are designed. I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to tickle the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching. See ya.